So as of this moment, there's still no new information about whether we're getting Leverage Redemption Season 4 or not, and I gotta say, I'm very up in the air about if I want more. Because on the one hand, if we get more, there's a chance they could learn from their mistakes. They could give us something really, really good. Give us some more entertaining action. But on the other hand, they could learn all the wrong lessons and give us even more goofiness. You know what, I think I'm okay with 3 seasons. What's up guys, Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Leverage Redemption Season 3, Episode 9, The Polygeist Job. And yes, that pun does reflect this episode pretty well. A decent idea when it comes to the idea of scaring these marks and trying to get them to run away to leave this one guy who's in charge of everything and basically convince him that everybody is turning on him. Clever idea, and there are some moments that I do think worked, but once again, it's dragged down by the fact that it's too over-the-top goofy, and the plan in the end just becomes Brianna runs away from him and leads him to these North Korean assassins who are trying to kill him because they lost all his money. So it's kind of botched in the end, unfortunately. And it's sad because I think this idea could have worked really well, even with the idea of the show being goofier, because you have Elliot and Parker and what they're doing to scare the other members of the team. That could have been the goofy moments. That could have been the silly moments that clearly this show wants to really try to up more than the original show had. Whereas the stuff with Matt could have been a lot more down to earth, a lot more grounded, I suppose. But as typical for the show, they made him over the top goofy. He doesn't know a lot of things. He's very naive. He doesn't know what a fax machine is. He's talking about how to save the world, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, and that's why he's okay with letting these firefighters deal with this awful tragedy. Like, there's so much about him that just doesn't work as a villain, and then when he has to turn into a more intimidating villain and chasing Brianna with the axe, it really feels out of place. Because for most of the episode, he's just a joke. And so to all of a sudden turn and have him show up with the axe and be like, I'm gonna have to kill you now, just like I killed Josh, it doesn't work at all. Whereas if he were a lot more grounded, a lot more serious as a villain, and then that's the turn he takes, he becomes a little bit more sinister because of everything going on and because he starts to lose trust in anybody, that would work a lot better. It would feel a lot more natural, and I'd actually be intimidated about what he was going to do. But as it is, I'm not intimidated at all by him. I'm just sitting here waiting for the episode to end, basically, because I'm like, okay, well, here's how it goes wrong. They have these assassins that are trying to kill him, trying to find out what happened. I'm assuming they're just going to get the assassins to go try to kill him, and that's what they do. And it's just as simple as Brianna leads him there too. Like that's something else they could have done, or maybe there was some clever play that they came up with on the fly that ended up getting them to meet each other in the middle or something like that. But it was basically just, hey Brianna, run this direction. Well, I don't know how to get there. We'll just run with the sun over there. Oh, okay. She does it. They find him. It's over. And then they had like a little gotcha moment at the end whenever he tries to call and his service gets canceled because of it. So it really just doesn't feel clever in the end. And that's unfortunately been a lot of this show. It feels like the clever writing that the original had, things could go wrong, but then they had an idea for how the team could overcome it, and it all felt natural. It felt like the plans they were coming up with on the fly were not outside the realms of realism, but were still cleverly set up in a way where you could almost see they had an idea of how to plan for this. They had it, like they talk about, a plan M to account for things that could go wrong. In this show, it feels like things go wrong and they just sort of change things on the fly and have very simple solutions ready and waiting to solve whatever problem they're dealing with. So I realize it's going to be kind of a short one, but I don't really have much more to say about it. So on to the finale for season 3. Hope there's something good out of this. I'll see you guys there in a sec. And now episode 10, The Side Job. Pretty decent. Unfortunately, for a season finale, that doesn't really mean much for it to be pretty decent, because you feel like the finale should be the epic finisher that wraps up the season as a whole. And to be fair, we did get some of this story with Parker throughout the season. Obviously, it kicks off with Hardison talking about why they do what they do at the beginning. We have the one episode with Hurley where she has that conversation with him at the end. So this was built up a bit, but when I think about a show like Leverage, I want to see the team go up against some of their hardest criminals. Some of the most difficult battles that they have to try to take down the most villainous people. And this guy is a total evil piece of shit. But how hard was it to beat him? Not really. I mean, Parker has this whole plan in place. Maybe there are a couple things that didn't work out quite how she expected, but they're very easily remedied. And it ended up actually working out better than probably it would have originally. So he was very, very easy to take down. And I think it really showed me just how much the show lacks in its storytelling. To have a random villain be the season finale and have real no build up to him at all, because there's no history here. There's nothing that really gets us excited. They even show us at the beginning of the episode what's going to happen at the end, because we get to this one moment where Parker might kill him, but we already saw at the beginning of the episode there's a point where he's on the run, worried that she's trying to kill him. So we know he's not going to die here, whether it's because he gets away or because Parker decides not to kill him, which is kind of a bit of both. But I think this episode works if it's a one-off episode, if it's just part of the season. It's a good story for Parker. It's a good plan that she sets up, even tricking some of the team in the process. But for a season finale, there's nothing really that feels climactic about it. There's nothing that feels like this is wrapping up this season and being exciting in the process. It just feels like another episode, really. I think that's where the main disappointment for me comes. But picking out some of the details from the episode to talk about, first of all, I will say a little bit of a plot hole here. The skyscraper that Parker and Brianna bring the guy to, it feels just sort of glossed over that Brianna just suddenly starts ordering people around. Nobody even really takes notice of her. There's like two people that looked at her weird. So how did they infiltrate that place? And how did they convince everybody that she's a part of the team? And I don't know. It just feels very odd that they just show up, Brianna barks some orders, and I guess everybody just assumes she's the head person now. I don't know. It felt very rushed over. Also something that wasn't very clear. So the ID and everything that he got at the end that Parker said was made for him. At one point, he calls his friend that makes fake IDs for all of the workers and stuff and has him make up a fake plan for him, whatever. So he just never went and got that stuff, or Parker, I guess, intercepted it and gave him the stuff that she had brought Brianna make for him. I feel like we missed a scene there. There was a scene that was edited out in post that cut the moment whenever that switch was made. At least I think that's what happened, because it sounded like he had fake IDs made for himself to make it seem like he was from this other country, this island. But from what it sounds like those papers never made it to him. So how did Parker get the fake papers that Brianna made to him? I don't understand that, really. That's about all in the negatives, though. Positives wise, I think the aesthetic for this episode ended up working. I wasn't sure what was going on at first, the whole black and white thing. It just really threw me off. I'm thinking, what, are they just going for a stylized finale? Like, what's happening here? But then when you discover Parker's running it, she has to put herself in that world. It really does help to show whenever we are looking at things from her point of view and how she's having to approach the con, and then whenever she's out of the con, and that's when the color returns. And it sets up perfectly for that moment at the end when she's like, con's done, and everything goes back to color. Because now she's out of the world, she doesn't have to put herself in that mindset anymore. It makes a lot of sense based on how she thinks. But the final thing that I do wish we'd gotten just a little bit more on, and if this were a finale that felt a bit more built up, I would be a lot more on edge about what was going to happen, but because this hasn't really been focused on too much this season, I didn't think anything out of the ordinary was going to happen. But that conversation between Parker and Elliot, very, very well done. First of all, it was a lot more toned down, which, again, I think we need more of these types of moments in the show because it works a lot better whenever you have the more quiet, grounded moments. It can offset the goofiness some. It can make you feel like these are real people in these goofy situations at times. But I like this idea, and it's funny because I've been rewatching Leverage, as I said in a previous review, and I just started season 4. And the first episode of season 4 is the one that Elliot references in this one, where he talks about how they were trapped in that hole. There was a body that they were trying to recover. And at one point, as they're trying to get it out, they come to a realization that it's either they get out without the body or they die with him. And Elliot points out it's a good thing that the two of them are trapped down there because everybody else on the team would have died trying to get this body back to the widow. But the two of them are willing to do what needs to be done. And so I like that callback. And it really does, again, show that there is something here that they could have been building up more. If we did see Parker maybe not connecting as much or having these moments throughout the season whenever she was a little bit more ruthless, I suppose, this moment here would have felt like the the climax to that, the conclusion to a lot of this, where it's kind of like she's been going back and forth about, does she actually care about doing the right thing, or is it something that she feels like she needs to do because that's what everybody expects her to do. But I think that's where, unfortunately, this concept falls apart. It's so good in its idea, it's so good in how it utilizes the characters, Elliot included. There's so much about it that I feel like there's something there. There's something that really, really works that I want to expound upon. But we've seen Parker has changed. She's not the same person that she used to be. There are several moments throughout. I mean, the episode with Hurley, for example. I mean, all you have to do is look at that episode and see she is the one that told the guy to go to their office because she sensed there was something deeper with him, that he wasn't just an evil guy. She wanted to help him out. That Parker that made that decision in that episode without the rest of the team knowing, she's not suddenly going to murder a man and stuff him into a meat grinder. Like, she wouldn't do that. So there's not really any tension in that scene, even though there should be, because I do like that idea, because Parker is different. And we've seen that from the original show, even in this one. You look at her and Hardison and the relationship that they have, it's not normal because she's not normal. But that's okay because it lets her do what she does so well. So I feel like if you had built that up a bit more, if you had had some moments, maybe in that episode, the team realizes he's not actually a bad guy, he was doing it for a good reason, and have her be the odd one out, where everybody's deciding they're wanting to help him. But Parker's the one that's like, why does it matter? Like, he still did all this stuff and hurt all these people, so why do we care about helping him cool down or whatever? If you have the roles reversed in that episode where Hurley's trying to help him and Parker doesn't understand why, then this scene feels a lot more impactful. Then this scene feels like it's been built up. But they didn't do that. So unfortunately, a great idea falls flat in its face. So it's just really disappointing that we had something here. We had potential here to see something really interesting. And again, the callbacks, calling back to Nate wanting to kill the guy that killed his father. I mean, that is another great callback. Actually getting close to that episode, the end of season 4. So that scene between Elliot and Parker, it's a good scene, but the stuff around it just doesn't live up to what that scene means and what it could possibly do for these characters and for Parker. So safe to say, I was still disappointed with this season. It was better than season 2. I'll give it credit for that, because I did think there were more episodes in this one that worked better than season 2 did. However, I still feel like the show as a whole is just lacking that something special that the original had. I think it's good enough to where people that maybe don't think too hard about shows, people who are not critical like I am, they would probably have some fun with it. I do think there's a lot of goofy stuff that is too over the top. Really, I can't see anybody above the age of 6 finding funny. But as far as the storytelling and the characters and I guess the cons that are happening in every episode, I can see where there's enough there. I would say like 50% of the original Leverage fans to just kind of, oh yeah, it's good stuff. But I think for anybody that's not trying to just turn their brain off and have a good time and actually wants to see a show that's going to do justice for what the original was, I don't think we're getting that. I feel like we're getting just a bare bones copy that's getting the gist of what the original show was, but they're not really living up to the spirit of the show. They're missing what the original point was. They're missing what made this team so enjoyable to watch. There's just a lot about it that unfortunately leaves me wanting more. And it's why I went back and watched the original show again after watching most of season 2, because I so desperately wanted to feel what the original gave me again. So if that's what the writers are going for, I don't know how they would plan for that to make your show so bad that it makes you want to watch the original show. But if that's what they're going for, then bravo, you've done your job. But unfortunately, I think what they're trying to do is not what they're actually giving me. I think they're trying to recapture what the original was, and it's just not the same. I think if you tone down the goofiness, give us more realistic villains, have more moments like what Elliot and Parker had here at the end, and also have a through line, have a story that stretches out from beginning to end, or even most of the season. Just give us something to hold on to throughout the season and not this whole one-off episode. Because the first season had that with the RIZ. Like, that was the through line that ended up finishing out season 1. Season 2 had minimal versions of that with Arthur Wilde and Sophie's history. And then this third season, almost nothing. Just a few scenes where Parker's questioning why they do this. And that's really all that was leading up to the finale. So they need to have that through line again, because that's something that was really missing from this season. And again, the goofiness needs to drop. The serious moments need to come back. a lot more. And I realize it's going to be difficult because you've probably run out of ideas for cons, but the cons do need some work too. They are very simplistic in the setup, very simplistic in how they fall apart and how they get solved when things fall apart. If they do all of that, I realize that's a lot, but if they do all of that, I think we could finally see something like what the original was. I don't know if they're going to have a season 4. I think they're just going season by season thinking, if this is it, this is it. But I really do hope we get another season, and I hope they can take some of what they've done here and find that feeling that the original had. But those are all of my thoughts, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these final 2 episodes and season 3 as a whole? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Leverage Redemption reviews if we get any. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on here, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.